Hey guys, it's Liz from blueandhazel.com and welcome to my homeschool channel. Today I'm going to be sharing a flip through of the Level 3 Math with Confidence. We just got ours in the mail, so right now this is currently the latest level that's out. They are making a new level every single year. In June is the predicted release date. And there are a few changes to the third grade year, so I will cover those in this video, as well as give you a look on the inside of what the lessons look like, what the teacher's guide looks like, so you can get a feel for how it's different if you've used any of the prior levels. And then if you are brand new to it, you'll get a feel for what it would be like to use this on the day-to-day. So for reference, I am beginning the year with a 4th grader who's doing a different math program since the level 4 is not released yet. And then I also have a 3rd grader who will be doing Math with Confidence, a 1st grader doing Math with Confidence, and those two did Math with Confidence last year as well, and one of them the year before that. So we have officially now tried all of the levels. I love this curriculum. I just find it really easy to teach as a parent. My oldest is using Singapore Primary 2022 since he's too old for this, and I find that a lot trickier to use and teach, but he does well with it, so we're kind of sticking with that. But a couple things I want to point out before I turn the camera around. You will notice this year has 3 books instead of 2. Mainly I think that's because there's an additional workbook page each day, and so they just didn't want to put all the workbook pages in one giant book. So kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade all have 2 books, just a big fatty teacher's guide and then 1 student notebook. I will walk you through the inside of this in just a moment, but you cannot really do this without the big thick teacher's guide. And noticing how thick it is, I would recommend just purchasing it rather than the digital version because of how many pages that are in here. This would just be wild to try to print and bind. And you can pretty much find it for 40% off. They have regular yearly sales several times a year through different distributors. Okay, so the first change you'll notice is the 3 books instead of 2. There's another change that I wanted to point out, and it's really minor, but just you'll see throughout the program. Instead of having this organized into weeks, what you'll see is that they're organized into units. And so they've taken out the week 1, day 1, week 1, day 2, week 1, day 3 kind of format. And instead they have just put in 144 lessons into the book within 16 units. And so you'll see for the pages that you're supposed to do, it's still very open and go. Like you can just open it and flip to the next lesson. And so really, truly not that much has changed as far as planning goes. You can just open to the next day's lesson and do that day's page. So if you do 4 lessons per week, which is what all of the other math levels have planned in there, then what you're looking at is 36 weeks of math. I will probably just continue on with the 4-day math week for her and then use that 5th day. If we want to do something extra, we can, or if I want to take the day off, we can. Then the very last thing I wanted to mention that's different is instead of having that 5th day every week with an enrichment idea, that's what the other levels of Math with Confidence have had. This particular one actually is going to have an enrichment optional enrichment day at the end of each unit. So book A is going to have 8 units in it, and there will be then 8 enrichment days at the end, one at the end of each unit if you want to, with some ideas for math picture books and math games and just some things that you can do activity wise. Same thing here in book B, there'll be an optional enrichment activity at the end of each unit instead of on the 5th day of each week like before. So not a big deal, but just know that is going to be different. All right, so let's flip the camera around and take a look inside. Part A is the first half of the year. This is going to be heavy on multiplication. Part B is going to be heavy on learning some division. And then we'll have the instructor's guide, which is going to be scripted. This has the games in it, and it will go along with this student workbook. So real quick, go ahead if you need to check out the table of contents here. Like I said, this is a lot of multiplication, and book B, you're going to be doing a lot of division. So for the student workbooks, one thing that is different this year in level 3 is that they're going to have the very first page be something that you use as part of the lesson. So the very first page won't be like their worksheet that they take off by themselves and do independently. And this is going to be part of the lesson activities. As you can see, there's a little hint here. I am with the 2 people, meaning you're going to do that with your child. And 1.1 is going to be your hint that this is Unit 1, Lesson 1. And so now flipping the page, same thing, first lesson of Unit 1. Now this says practice. It's going to be independent work, and this is the part that where your child independently goes off and practices what they just learned in the lesson. Then here is the review. So I love this curriculum because as you go through it, they always have a review page, and so they're constantly refreshing their mind on old things that they've learned through the review page. It'll continue on, same thing, next day. Here, lesson activities, the first of the 3 pages. Each day will have 3 pages. The first page is going to be what you use in the lesson, and you will learn kind of how to do this based on what your teacher's guide is going to tell you to do. Then you can give your child their front and back work page over here to go do themselves. So the practice page, the review page. Same again, next day, you do this together during the lesson. It'll be part of the lesson. Then they'll have independent practice and review. So you can see how it has that 3-page pattern where you do work together in the lesson. They do a practice page and a review page on their own. Okay, so let me go ahead and do a little faster flip through for you of what you can expect to see. Unit 1 was still reviewing addition and subtraction. Finishing up Unit 1, now we're on Unit 2, getting into some beginning multiplication. So this curriculum is really special because of the hands-on activities and games, and that is going to be included here in color in the student notebook. And these are the ones that typically I like to save, and so when we get to a game, I will tear this out and I will put the game inside of like a 3-ring plastic binding page, and then the directions unfortunately are not here. They're in the teacher's guide. I wish they would change that. I really wish that they would just put the directions for the game on the same page so that it would make it easier for us to just tear out and use. But generally I will either write, if the directions are simple, I'll just write them like in any white space, or sometimes I've made a copy of the directions and then glued it on with like a glue stick or something for doing later. More games, and one thing that a lot of people have asked about is how teacher intensive is this program. And here's another fun game, 4 in a row. Climb and slide. But as far as the amount of time that it has taken us thus far, we haven't used level 3, but for kindergarten, 1st and 2nd grade, kindergarten was by far the fastest. But also, you know, you have a brand new learner who you're using a lot of little pieces with and stuff. But I would say we probably spend about 15 minutes of actual time together going over the lesson, playing the game. I oftentimes will skip review if that's something that I feel like we just have a really good grasp on. And so I would say we spend about 15 minutes together per kid. So I have 3 kids at home doing math, 2 of them doing math with confidence, and we go ahead and spend that much time, and then they do the rest on their own. So you can just see the way it's laid out. It's lots of color, lots of visuals, not overwhelming looking. You know, some people also have expressed concern that this isn't considered a rigorous program. Kate Snow herself calls it middle of the road, and that's kind of something that I have just come to peace with because of the fact that it makes me feel like I can teach my kids math. I see my kids who use this, I see the light bulbs going on. Their mental math is so much better. It's something that's teachable and fun, and we enjoy it. and it's not overwhelming. And so for that, to me, I've just kind of come to terms with the fact that I'm okay with it not being super uber advanced and hard, because I don't want math to be something that I dread or my kids dread, or math, I don't want it to take 40-50 minutes like other curriculums that I've heard can. And so I'm really pleased with this, and that's something that you'll just have to decide for your family. Okay, so book, this would be part B, where we're gonna get into some division. One thing I did notice as far as this having 3 pages that you can tear out, by the way, it's got perforated pages here, is that having 3 pages front and back like this makes it so that I can't just give my kid the practice page and the review page and then throw it away, because we need the other side for tomorrow's lesson. And so just be aware of that. Like, this makes it a little trickier if you're doing the you know, the thing where you pull it out and then, you know, pre-stack all your lessons for a week or something. This could make it tricky, because like you would have to line up making sure that you have the next day's lesson if it's on a back page of a previous lesson. Okay. So getting into perimeter and area, this will be new for us. So you have more games now, the similar type of games, but it'll be division. And another question I get is if you need to have the Facts That Stick series if you're using this math curriculum. And the answer is really no. You don't need to own multiplication facts that stick and division facts that stick. One thing that we do here in our home, and I know other people also do, is some parents who do use this curriculum will take the summer to like review one of the math facts books. Like, for instance, at the end of 3rd grade, you could get the math facts that stick multiplication and or division, and you could go ahead and work on those over the summer. But you definitely don't need to do it alongside this, and there will be crossover between them, so just know that. Okay, so you kind of have an idea of what to see in those student books there. So let's go ahead and open up the teacher's guide so that you can see what is in here. And I will probably not show you this whole thing because it is so thick, but here is what you can expect for the A and B books. There's going to be some really nice information on how this is taught. I recommend just looking over this before you start, and it'll explain things like the bold is going to tell you what you're going to say. Italic text will give you sample answers, and gray highlighted text will tell you any kind of explanatory notes. She talks about creating a math kit. Since that doesn't come with this book, it doesn't come with any of the levels, you create your own math kit. So you'll see what you have in here, and then we'll get to that first lesson. So for this one, rounding to the nearest 10, every single day in the teacher's guide, you're going to see a warm-up. And so this is something that we sometimes skip to save time, and then if you feel like it would be beneficial, go ahead and do the activities in the warm-up. It really does help to have a math box with any type of manipulatives or game pieces or anything like that that you might be using in the warm-up, because there's just kind of like quick turnover of pieces sometimes, and that'll save you a ton of time. So here what you're going to see is what you're supposed to say in bold. You will see what you're supposed to do under that, and then more of what you're supposed to say in bold. And here's another activity. And then you have another activity, which is going to be your game. It gives you your instructions, and this would be the piece that I would probably make a copy of and stick on the game board. And that would be so that I could play it again. So over here in the student book, on the very first lesson of the day, you can see this first page that we do together during the lesson has round to the nearest 10 crash. In the teacher's guide will tell you how to play that. So now you have lesson 1.2 the next day. So you'll have the warm-up. It looks like there's a game right here. Activity A, what you're supposed to say, how your cards are gonna look. And then activity B here. And I love that there are so many pictures of exactly what you're going to be showing your kids, so it's just really, really simple. Then at the end you have independent practice and review, which is where you hand them their worksheet and they go do it. So every single day you'll see the same exact thing. You'll see the warm-up, you'll have your activities that you do with the scripted lessons, you'll have your manipulative pieces that you're putting out so they can see the visuals. And there'll be a few activities, and she's listed these: activity A, activity B, and then you'll have your workbook page at the end of that lesson. You have your answer keys at the back of each unit if you need. And then unit 2 is where really you're beginning new stuff, multiplication part 1. How you'll set your stuff up, the bold stuff you will say, and then you will be using the dot arrays. This is something that I'm using with my oldest right now. We're going through the multiplication facts stick book with him, and they use this a lot in there. One thing they are learning here with multiplication that is really different than I grew up with is that they're not encouraged really to be learning the skip counting as a problem-solving tool. They're going to teach you different strategies in Math with Confidence for finding those multiplication problems initially until they are in the memory bank. And you'll also have these checkpoints at the end of the units where you can see, has my kid learned the things that they should learn up till now? And then you'll move on of what you should be learning in the next unit. Fractions, reading and writing fractions. So this is a new manipulative piece that we haven't had up until now, and I will probably buy something on Amazon to make it quick and easy to use for these manipulatives. In the back of the teacher's guide, there's going to be printable manipulatives that you can use. Okay, so we've got these in the back of the book, kind of strategies. This will be copied and used a lot, as well as this here for the dot array. Multiplication strategies, and then fraction circles. So if you didn't want to buy fraction circles, you could actually print this off and cut it out. You could even color it in, but I'm probably going to purchase something on Amazon, and I will link what I go ahead and buy because I just feel like it's going to be more sturdy and just last longer through multiple kids. So these are the things that you'll be using during your lessons in the back. Base 10 blocks. Money, we actually just got some play money instead. For coins, I use coins for my purse. I did want to look at the end of a unit to see what that enrichment day looked like. So here we would be at the end of unit 7, and this would be that example of the optional enrichment that will come at the end of each unit. And so for this particular one, it says, quiz your child on all memory work through unit 7. See pages 527 and 528 for the full list. Next, you would have a math picture book, follow the money. Next, you'll have enrichment activity, add and subtract prices. Have your child choose 2 items he'd like to pretend to buy from a toy catalog or website. Have him use the additional algorithm to figure out the total cost of both items. Then have him use the subtraction algorithm to figure out the difference between the 2 prices. For example, if he chooses an item that costs $37.49 and an item that costs $18.99, there's the total cost and the difference. Another example of an enrichment day, let's go to the end of unit 8 here. So quizzing on the memory work through unit 8, see the full list here, another math picture book. Then the activity would be choose your own math fact practice. You've worked hard on times 6, times 7, times 8, and times 9. multiplication facts in this unit. Today, you'll practice them in a different way. Choose 8 to 10 of the multiplication facts that your child finds most challenging and have your child choose one of the following ways to practice these facts. Fold a piece of paper to make a 2x4 grid. Have your child tape a small slip of paper or place a sticky note in each box. Have her write a multiplication problem on each slip of paper, sticky note, and have her write the answer underneath. Then have her use this lift the flap to quiz herself on the tricky facts. So you get the idea of how you could do kind of an extra bonus math day here instead of that 5th day off at the end of the unit. Okay, now you have seen how this program works, kind of what it looks like inside, and how important the 3rd grade instructor's guide is. You cannot skip this at all. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments for me. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. And I will go ahead and link below all of my other math videos, as well as some of my other homeschooling videos for you. Thanks for watching.